And then I'm going to turn it over. Actually, before we get started and I turn it over to Kay, let me just jump in and share my screen and just make sure y'all know the resources that we have available. This is the assistive technology page from ESC 11. So if you just get to the front page of ESC 11, top right-hand corner, it says services. You'll find assistive technology right there. And I just have very general information. A lot of times we have administrators or parents that don't know what assistive technology is, how to define it. So there's a great infographic there if that's something that's of use to y'all. And then on the right-hand side, I try to keep this updated with just key resources that might be useful to you. We do have some, a few items that are available for loan. So if you guys ever have that need, those are in the top right-hand corner. And then you'll see ESC Region 11 AT community. That is our Canvas community. It's an open course, so you don't have to sign in. And I have a list of every meeting / collaborative that we've held. And so the resources from today are right there on the front page. So any links, if Kay shares something that I don't have linked in here, we'll go ahead and add that for you. So these are from previous TextHelp web sessions that I've attended. So Kay, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you do an introduction and just kind of take away the presentation, and we just try to honor everybody's time and end by 12:30. So I know you guys have some specific questions, and I've worked with Kay for the last couple years, and she's awesome. And every time we show TextHelp to teachers, the response is, "Oh my gosh, and how did you get there? And I need that for my kids." So Kay, feel free. And I'm Arlington ladies, I'm going to go ahead and mute my microphone. So if I start talking and I'm going to ask y'all to do the same, it just prevents the feedback. So if we have anybody else jump in, I'll probably pause and ask them to introduce themselves. All right, Kay.
Good morning, and thank you all for joining me today. It's nice to meet you virtually.
I know that she's coming in. That we're listening to.
I clicked share screen, but okay, hang on. There we go.
Muted up.
So can you hear me? Okay, let's check with that.
Yes.
Very good. What I had kind of planned to do today. So let me just introduce myself. There's my picture. So the reason I'm not on camera is because I was in the ER with my son-in-law till 1 a.m. So it's a bit of a rough day for me today. So it's nice to meet you guys virtually.
We don't see your picture. And we also have Maureen Polizzi, who is our guest from South Lake Carroll.
Okay.
Maureen, do you want to say hello? Or would you please say hello? It looks like her mic is off. All right, go ahead, Kay. Sorry.
That's okay. So I have clicked share screen and not sure it's sharing. It did earlier. You saw it. You're muted, Linda.
I've done video conferencing for going on 20 years and I still do it wrong. Once you hit share screen, you should get a pop-up. And then you have to choose like desktop.
Yeah, it's not popping anything up like it did earlier. There we go. Okay, now it's there. I guess it's a little bit delayed.
There we go.
Now you see it. Very good. Okay, so there is my screen for you all to see my picture now. And so basically what we're wanting to do is just talk a little bit today about Read and Write and how it supports your students for STAR Prep. We're going to just key in on a few things. This is not a full demo of Read and Write. If you would like to see more, if you're intrigued and you want to learn more and you're not familiar with it, I'm more than happy to schedule something with you individually. But these are the things that we do as a company, and these are all either free for teachers, 100% free, like mostly free, or just a limited use free model. So we have a lot of really cool stuff, and our model is to give it away to you, let you play with it, know how it works on your network, on your devices, and you're not buying from a demo. You're knowing what you're getting. And then if you do want to use it with students, you only pay for students. We don't charge you for teachers. So here in the center, we're going to focus on read and write, but just to give you a 2-second overview, Equatio is a new product that we just launched last year in April. It's not a year old yet. And we have 1 million users. We've already exceeded the 1 million user mark already. And it basically is free for teachers and makes math and science digital. So if you create math and science equations with Equatio, then Read and Write will read them. RIQ, we are building a way to grade writing in a Google Doc. So if you have a writing passage from a student, RIQ auto scores that for you for grammar, spelling, and punctuation. You have a rubric in there that you've selected by genre and grade level, and then RIQ allows you to, click on that rubric. I've been told it's very star-like, but because we're building it, because writing is very subjective, we want your feedback. And I have an email already built with, how do you get it? Click here, what do you see? Click here, what do you see? So if you'd like that, you can email me, and then I will send you those instructions. Fluency Tutor for Google is a repository of about 500 reading passages that can be shared with students through Google Drive or Classroom. The student can record themselves reading that passage and share that recording back with the teacher for scoring later. All of that I described is free. You get premium for 30 days, and then the free part you keep, so you can assign comprehension questions, give a thumbs up under the free, score them under premium for comparison. You can mark the 1-minute measure, mark the type of error, is it a mispronunciation, omission, etc. That's all part of premium. Free would not allow you to do the scoring nor track student progress over time, etc. But if you'd like a bank of reading passages to read, to like cold reads or whatever, you can also share reading passages that you have in your district already purchased or that you just have access to through a Google Doc or through the internet. And I'm going to bounce out of this just for a second to show you something that's kind of new to me and I'm still learning. But on the TELPass, we've gotten a lot of interest lately because, as it says here, that this is 4 language domains: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. I am getting really overwhelming response from the ELL directors in your districts for how they see Fluency Tutor being a very close alignment to this. And then if you're doing running records, it's also a great way for you to have passages for that running record process. Snapburner converts PDFs or images on the fly through Google Drive so that if it's not converted or you snapped a picture with your phone of something in print, it'll then allow the computer to interact with that. So Read and Write is this toolbar that opens and interacts with what you're seeing on your device. So whether you're opening a doc or the internet or a PDF, and it has all these different supports that many are aligned to STAR. So you've got here an alignment doc that I can share with you with the button, the name of the button, picture of the button. What does STAR say is allowed as an accommodation for STAR or the TELPass? And we've also done that for Windows. And the reason is when you have licenses of Read and Write, you get all of our versions included. That includes Windows and Mac. And the key thing there to know is that for Windows, Read and Write for Windows, it does work offline. So during STAR, if there is an accommodation not already built into STAR and you need an offline version of that accommodation, Read and Write for Windows does work offline. Read and Write for Google and Office 365 are a cloud-based version. So if you have, the day-to-day instructional practice, that's how teachers are assigning things, and you want them in the cloud working with Read and Write for Google, for example, during the year, then certainly it is a great prep because those toolbars, the pictures, and the way they work is very similar between Read and Write for Google and Read and Write for Windows. So it doesn't take a big learning curve for a student to switch over to the Read and Write for Windows before STAR starts. And then Read and Write for the iPad and Android tablet is also one of our versions. So like I said, all of these are included, and they give your students the day-to-day instructional support. Then when they get to STAR, this is what we're being told, kids will look at the STAR built-in supports and go, oh, this is like Read and Write. So they totally get it, and then they know what to do, how to click the buttons, and so forth. So we've got this alignment for you. Just to give you a really quick overview of what it can do is here's kind of a before for a kid, for handwriting, IDK, a lot of help needed, obviously. And then the after using read and write. So obviously they've probably used some of the built-in supports like word prediction and speech input. Maybe they had the question read to them. They maybe needed a dictionary or picture dictionary to help them understand some vocabulary. But great vocab, great sentence structure, an example for writing. And I like to kind of think about STAR when I'm talking about this one and what an impact read and write could have on your scores, because the after using read and write for Google for just 2 days looks so much better. And there is so much content that students struggle to get out. So because we're wanting to get to just, like I said, a few details of how you could use this to help with STAR and then let you ask your questions, I'd like to bounce to the PDF. So with read and write, you can open PDFs. So here we are at the TEA STAR release test. And we know that all of these are PDFs and they are accessible. So TEA releases them accessible. So if we come over here and just grab a reading test and click to open, read and write, the toolbar is an extension and it will launch. Now, a couple of things to know. One is that, and this looks like it might be not working real well today. Sometimes we have that from TEA. So let me refresh. Well, I've already lost them. Okay, so hang on. TEA STAR release test. Come down to the link. And maybe my computer had gone to sleep earlier on me or something. So let me just come down here and I'll just grab the 2013 reading for 3rd grade. Now, one thing that we do know is with read and write, you can see in my extensions, I have read and write, and then I have a PDF icon for read and write. And it looks like this is, oh, there it goes. The toolbar will just deploy, but in order for this to happen, I do need this PDF reader it's a second extension installed. If I try to open this PDF and I don't have it, you might be prompted to add it, and you would want to be sure and do that. A second thing you can do is if you come to Google Drive and you go to the new button, More, Connect More Apps, and you search for TextHelp PDF Reader, then it will bring that up and then you can just add it to, so I just come over here, do TextHelp PDF, my fingers, okay. And then when I hit enter, I can see that PDF Reader app and I can just add it very easily. So that's the first thing I want to point out. The second thing is when I see this toolbar on a PDF that I do not already have in Google Drive, you have a button here for Add to Google Drive, which easily lets you add something that you found online. And so it just, you're like, oh, this is really good, just click, and it's in Drive. So it's very easy for you to save things. The second thing I want to mention is, you know how on PDFs for reading, or for the test for reading, I should say, hang on, my little mouse going. So you have a story, and the way it works for STAR Online is the instructions will read, but then when you get down to the bottom of the base of the story, TEA designs this so it will not read during the test online. However, you all would like to have that practice be emulated where you can have a story not read. We have a new thing that we're just adding, that when you share a PDF through Google Classroom, you can block that text from being read with a new tool. So where that button would be is in our highlighters. It would be here on the end, but because I don't have Classroom, I don't have the button to show you. So I would like to play just a little quick 1.5-minute video to show you how that would work. So let me hit play, and then I'm gonna enlarge the screen so you can watch and just get a quick overview of how that feature works.
The block read aloud feature in the PDF reader lets teachers disable text-to-speech for their students on certain sections of a PDF. To use, you'll need to be using Google Classroom and have classroom integration enabled for the PDF reader. To do this, right-click on the PDF reader extension icon and choose Options. Check the box that says Enable Classroom Integration. To use the feature, open a PDF and select some text that you don't want students to be able to read aloud. Then click the highlighter button on the toolbar and click the Block Read Aloud button. The text will now appear as crossed out for the teacher. When students in your class open the PDF with the PDF reader, they won't be able to use text-to-speech to read those sections.
Answer the following questions related to the reading passage.
Note that students will also need to have Google Classroom integration enabled on the PDF reader. To learn more about Read and Write and the TextHelp Google PDF.
Okay, so we have a YouTube channel with videos, and they're all short and simple like that, where you can watch overviews, you can learn how to use a single feature. It's an easy way for you to support students with buttons that they're learning. You could even develop a list through, we have something called Tool Matcher, where you can develop a list of video links to link students from that button quickly over to a video for them to just watch, learn how to use it, help parents learn how to use Read and Write if they're working with their child at home, etc. So I just wanted to show that to you real quick. Now, when I go back to a STAR release test, and these, because the STAR releases them without, sorry, let me refresh this one again. So when TEA releases these tests, they do release them fully functioning. They don't have that story blocked from reading. So when I come in to play this, it's going to just work with Read and Write, because that's the design of Read and Write, is it would just work. So if I were wanting the story not to read, my story is going to read because I haven't done anything with this. But I can highlight the text and hit play.
Lizard Problems by Jacqueline Adams. When my problem started when I learned at MRS. Rena would.
Okay, so if I want to, I can pause that. I can stop it from reading. I can change my voice over here in options. I can speed it up, slow it down. If this were written in Spanish, we have a voice that reads fluently in Spanish. That's all just included. And Read and Write has even been written in Spanish. So you can actually switch your language, switch your features, and you have a Spanish version, which is great for dual language courses. It's great for your Spanish 1 students in maybe high school or later junior high years, wherever they're taking Spanish 1. And also we do this in French. So they can support themselves as they're learning a new language and have it act like, turn it to French or turn it to Spanish, have it act like that's my main language. And then when I need supports in English, I could do the vice versa for a dual language approach. There is a button here called Click to Speak. And when I turn it on and I click, it's going to read.
Read the selection and choose the best answer to each question.
And I can just click it again to turn it off. That's a great tool to use when you're on the internet and you are trying to maybe have something that has links in it read. We have a dictionary, so I can come in here and maybe I need a word like this, so I can click on dictionary. I get a definition. The play button here will read. I have picture dictionary that comes from the widget library. I have that translation feature. These can be moved around and out of my way. I also can click on other words and I get, notice I'm getting, oops, sorry, that was a lot of words there when I'm trying to click. So, sorry, I don't know why I'm having trouble with that one, but there we go. So, user error, I'm sure. But notice it's updating all of these boxes on the fly. so that I can leave them open. I can certainly move them out of the way. I know they're in the way of the text, but I'm just trying to get through this fairly quickly. Another couple of buttons I want to point out to you is Screenshot Reader helps when maybe some text won't read and on the fly you are wanting it to read. So I have a quick example here on a doc for you where at the bottom there is a map. And maybe this is not going to read the map, of course, because it sees it as a big old picture. But Screenshot Reader allows me to draw a box around some text and analyzes and reads
Gulf of Mexico.
on the fly. I can play again or I can close that out. So that's how that button works. Highlighters, notice I've got a few words highlighted. I can, I saw spider in here somewhere a minute ago. I don't know where it went. I thought I saw spider. But anyway, I can select words that maybe I would like to highlight. These could be words I don't know or whatever. I also have a clear highlight. So let's say I don't want that word highlighted or I don't want the number 2 highlighted. Then I can click on this clear highlights button here and get rid of that highlighting. You can have text selected, and there is a vocabulary list builder button here that I'm just going to bounce over and show you one that I already preloaded from another doc. That when you click that button, you get the word, the definition, picture from a picture dictionary on the fly. So it certainly would do that here in just a few seconds, but I'm just trying to cut the time back as best I can to give you guys more time to ask your questions. A couple of other buttons I want to point out and show you. The first one is the typewriter annotation tool, which allows you to type on a PDF. So let's imagine that I go to something like this, which is maybe a worksheet that I would want students to come in here and type their answer. Then they can click this typewriter button, come down here below the question. I have lots of supports that I can use. So maybe I want to start typing so that how many tickets were sold by David and Bob. So maybe I want to say, you know, David and then I maybe want to turn on word prediction. And what it's doing is bringing up to 10 options in this list. Notice when I click the space bar, I get a lot of different Bobs that, you know, last name. This is coming from a repository of like about 20 million works of literature that we have an algorithm that runs against that repository and brings up the most commonly written words based on how you're typing. So notice when I do sold, if I mouse over,
Sold.
it pronounces that word. I can click to insert, or I can do control and the number. So I can do control and the number 8, and I get the word more. Oops, sorry. Get the word more, etc. So
Then.
I can turn that off when I am through with it, and I can, you know, edit here. I've got speech input, so I can talk and type on a PDF. 20 tickets combined. And then when well, obviously can't talk today, so it should be 20, so it's easily corrected. I can reduce the text, enlarge the text, change the text color, whatever it is that I'd like to do. And I'm happy with my answer. I just click this check mark. The X would delete my answer if I'm like, oh, I just was answering that so wrong. I misread the question. But to check it, then here's my answer. But oh, it's kind of on there wrong. I've got a little move button here that I can move it around or even be like, oh, that was supposed to be number 2. So then I can move it around and I have the answer in that proper place on the document that I need it. Another thing is, you know, I get asked on this particular PDF, will it read the name, will it read the graph? And the answer is yes, it reads the names, it reads the 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Text on the slant, it might not read. So we've got this little push pin button here that when you click it, and I come down here next to this text, I can insert, you can see the little push pin, so I can insert what I want it to read. Well, for some reason it's acting up a bit today on me. It's not letting me finish typing, so let me try this. Let me try this. It normally has no problem letting me type the whole thing. It's acting like I'm running out of space for some reason. So let's just say, let me just go ahead and click the check for you to see. Now here, I do have that play button, just like I have down here, where it will read the response back to the student.
David and Bob sold 20 tickets combined.
So it does read here as well, and it's just not letting me finish typing it, so it's not going to read right.
It's ready for the weekend, right?
I keep thinking I was up till 1 a.m. in the ER. So it's perhaps me. It's a driver error today that I'm just having a brain glitch, maybe. I don't know. But normally I don't have any issue at all typing number of tickets in that box. So I'm not sure what's up with that. But I did want to show you that. Now I'd like to bounce over to the STAR release test let me pick this one because I think we're in the right spot. To point out to you, when you have words underlined and a student is taking that STAR online test and they do the language supports, they mouse over, they get either a definition, an image, or a picture from the picture dictionary. So one of the things that we did specifically for Texas and STAR was I said, districts would like to emulate this as much as possible. And notice when I click that word, over here, now remember I'm on a PDF, this looks like the comments box that students see on a Google Doc. And it's pink instead of white. But when I click that, I have a lot of supports that I can use as I create something to emulate what they would see on STAR. So for example, for the word fortunate, let's say I want the definition to fortunate typed here, then I can just type that and click comment, and it will highlight the word and allow that to be read. Now, before I do that, I just want to show you, you've got word prediction. So if a student is responding via the comment box, they can use word prediction. They can use the talk and type or speech input. They can use voice note. Now, I haven't shown you voice note yet, so I'll show that to you in just a second. They can play back what you've typed, so the definition would read. They can insert an image or attach a link to more information. So you can emulate what they would see on that STAR test. So when I click comment, then notice over here the word fortunate is lightly shaded, and then here when I click, I do have a play button. So let me come to another word to show you. The voice note allows me as a teacher to maybe record a voice note. I have up to 1 minute. Read this paragraph, number 3, and then I want you to answer the questions on blah, 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 whatever. Okay, so then when I stop it and I comment, there would be able to play that voice note on this particular PDF. So that's the toolbar in a nutshell, focusing mostly on a PDF. It works on Google Docs, it works on slides, it works on the internet, it works on EPUBs. We work with Bookshare. I know that you guys are AT specialists, so you would want to know that if you open a Bookshare book, Read and Write will read that book. I think it's important. They like to promote Read and Write, just as a friendly gesture, because you can change the voice. They do have a built-in voice, but it doesn't have as many options as we have. So if you have students using Bookshare, know that you can use Read and Write with that. So we're about 30 minutes into your lunch. Let me pause what I am doing and see if you have any questions for me.
So Kay, I'm going to, because I know this is where I get stuck frequently, is which part is part of our paid account and which part is part of our free account. So can you answer that piece for us?
Yes, so as a teacher, Read and Write is free. And we give it away, like I said earlier, we give it away to teachers for free. The way that you can get it for free is if you go and download the extension, accept the permissions, you start using it, you have a 30-day trial. But after the 30 days, you're going to need to register with us. So if you just type in TextHelp register as a teacher, then you will get a link that allows you to register for both Read and Write and Equatio for free. Now, be sure that you, before you register, did they pick this? No, they didn't change it. Okay. Before you come here, you're going to want to first be sure to download the extension using your school account, because when you register here, you must use the same login that you use to download the extension. If you do not use the same login, then you will get, it can't match you up to see that you're free. So, don't click both boxes if you haven't, for example, downloaded Equatio yet. If you haven't, you can certainly click just read and write, fill this out, come back later when you've decided you're going to play with Equatio, for example, and then you would have it convert from a trial to a free for educator account. As far as buttons, there are no differences in the buttons. If you have students trial it, they get 30 days for free. Then at the end of 30 days, it only gives them the ability to read and translate. So you get like play, stop, and translate buttons. Any other questions?
And Kay, is the PDF reader also free, or if under the free version, or is it only available for subscribers?
It is also free for educators to use. Now, for the things that you're sharing, so for example, if I insert that push pin and I share this PDF with students who do not have read and write, they will not see those features. And that may be what you're trying to ask me about. So the student who doesn't have read and write would just see the PDF, but would not see the embedded voice note or the highlighting or the push pin, for example, if those are the things I have used read and write to put on the PDF. But it still would read for them and translate for them, for example. Now, if they're in their trial, their 30-day trial period, they would see those things, and you could have them test out all of those features during the trial.
And so I'm going to kind of roll with our participants. I know we've got two friends from Arlington. Arlington, what questions do y'all have about read and write, and specifically for STAR supports?
I think the questions we had were STAR specific rather than TextHelp specific. So I'm not sure that we want to bother Kay with them.
This is your AT time. So if those questions are for Linda and you would like to go ahead and ask them, I don't mind, passing that mic over to her and letting her help you. We were just doing this as a way to support you guys, to give you some information about, our tools and how they interact and help you prep kids for STAR. But if you have STAR specific questions, this is a fine time. If somebody else has read and write questions, we still got a bit of time, so I think we can get all of that in. I did skip showing you a doc. I did skip showing you how it works in the internet, etc. Just to, give you plenty of time to get your questions answered in whatever way they are. So Linda, feel free to answer their questions.
Well, I do have one question on this. We have a student who is doing a two-step switch compatibility with his computer. So would this program be compatible with the two-step switch?
Sorry, I don't know what two-step switch is. Can
scanning and then selecting with switches. So I assume no if you.
So he uses a switch to scan through choices, and then a different switch to select the choice.
Right.
So, and are you finding, and again, this is not my area of expertise, so I may need to ask clarification, but does he usually have success with most things that are web-based using the switches?
We're just introducing all of that, so I would not say that he's successful at this point.
Okay, and Kay, do you have any context of what we're talking about?
I think I understand just a little bit about the switch thing, which is I'm thinking it might be something that he is using to help him, as far as physically help him manipulate the computer. Is that correct?
Correct. He can't use his hands at all.
Okay. Okay, so if that switch is actually allowing him to use his device in a way that it works kind of like a click, or is it a speak recognition, or is it a, I know sometimes they hold the stylus or something in, in their mouth and use it like that. So does it work similar to, I'm going to just say similar to a mouse, except?
Yes. Yes.
I would
Similar
think,
to a mouse simulator. Yes.
okay, so I would think that he might have some success using Read and Write, and that's let you trial it. We want you to be able to know before you spend any money that Read and Write would work for students. So feel free to download Read and Write under the student login so that that student could play with it. And for 30 days, they get premium features. So that student could have, 4 weeks of school to use it with that switch to see how well it works. We also have a 30-day trial for Read and Write for Windows. So if you find that that particular product maybe works better with the switch, because I don't have any personal background knowledge on that, I can ask our company and get back to you guys with an answer on what we know. But as far as just me personally knowing that it works for sure, I can't say.
Okay.
But a lot of times we do encourage districts, try it out, use it. It's free. See what you think. Give your questions to us. Let us know what you found that works. If you you're having trouble with something, let us know. Let us help you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And y'all, that is one of the reasons that teachers respond so well to TextHelp, is that anytime I've ever sent Kay a message, I get a response within 24 hours. So the blessing of being able to download and you get that full version, or if you have a kid that you don't have their Google account set up, you can put the kid on your machine and let them try what you have at any time. So I think that's a huge blessing. Let's circle to Fort Worth ISD. I know Fort Worth ISD has looked at TextHelp several times. So Maureen, what questions do you have for your students? And it looks like Maureen's on mute or doesn't have a mic. So Maureen, if you have questions for Fort Worth, feel free to put them in the chat as well. And then I think we have Chris Weber from Springtown. So Chris, what questions do y'all have?
Right now, the major question I have from teachers is how to scan as a PDF and be able to read from that PDF using the OCR settings on the copier scanner. We have a few teachers that are piloting this for me, and they're scanning using OCR, the optical character recognition, and then it's still, ReadWrite is still saying that they can't recognize the text on the page. So I'm wondering what else can be done about that.
Okay, so depending on how they're building PDFs, and this is, I'm getting a lot of questions about PDF use, and it's clearly a model that a lot of school districts are using where teachers are building things in PDF. And what I'm learning as I'm talking to districts and helping them with this struggle is if you think about your computer seeing characters and numbers, the back end sees it as zeros and ones. We all know that's kind of how the computer sees this. What people have done traditionally is maybe they've used a software program like Microsoft Word, and they've maybe created some questions. They've gone to the internet, they've highlighted, copied some information in. They maybe taken a picture or an image and copied over. And then maybe this got built a couple of years ago, and then the district went Google, and now they've used the Google feature to upload and switch and convert this now from a Word doc to a Google Doc, for example. In all of those conversions, the copy paste from one format to another, the switching it from a Word doc to a Google Doc, in all of that process, there could be some of that zero ones, if you will, some of that information could get dropped where the the computer is not seeing clearly everything that was there at one time, as if you typed it from fresh. That's issue number one. Issue number two is the settings on those copiers may not fully be scanning and converting, and I don't know enough about what version of copier or so forth you're using, but I know there are settings that that should be there or may not be there based on the capabilities of that copier to OCR. But I want to tell you about two things. One is in Google, you can go and download SnapVerter, and it's limited use free. We talked about it very briefly at the beginning, but you would get a SnapVerter folder, and inside that folder, you can drop the file here to convert, have it go to the in progress, and then when it finishes converting, it'll go to the finished folder. If it cannot convert, it would go to failed, or if, for example, it's already converted, it might go to failed as well. So in that finished folder, you can see there are some things that have been converted, and then when you open those, you do get the read and write toolbar, the PDF toolbar, and you would recognize some of those buttons that would interact with the PDF. So see, it'll read the PDF, blah, blah, blah. Now, this is a picture. If a picture is blurry, it's certainly going to have more trouble. The second thing I want to bring to your attention is that when you have access to read and write, you also get a toolbar. So I'll open up, we have two versions of read and write for Windows out right now, and these are install based. And when you launch the read and write toolbar, it's opening, this is the Windows version. If this computer is not connected to the internet, then you would, it would work offline. And you have a scan button on this particular version. So this is all of the buttons. You can see there are quite a few. But if I come here to scan, on the Windows 11.5 version, that's the one I'm showing you right now, you can have options of how you want to scan. Do you want it to be a PDF? Do you want to go back to Word, etc.? And then where is it coming from? Is it coming from a file, etc.? And then you can scan and convert. And that OCR conversion tool is very strong. So if you're having trouble with maybe that copier, I would try this. I would try, because I know Springtown has licenses that you have access to the Windows version.
Yes.
So install the Windows version, show them how to use the scan feature.
Okay.
And what it does then is the settings are here. So if I'm scanning from a file to a PDF, then when I just click on scan, it's going to ask me, where is your file? And I probably don't have, we'll just open this. So I don't have a lot on this computer because I have recently gotten a new computer. But this was a 2-page document, so it's asking me, do you want 1 page or 2? If it's a very long document, I might want to just do the first page or whatever. And then when I click on scan, it's doing the OCR process. It's asking me here to name it. So I'll call it test. And then as it's scanning, analyzing, doing that OCR process, then when it opens, and it's very likely this one was already scanned and OCR'd, but it is now scanned and converted.
Awesome.
And here on my desktop somewhere, wherever I put it, I don't remember what I put. Now, the one thing to note about read and write is when you have access to 2 versions, the Windows version was there first. TextHelp is a 20-year-old company. The Windows version is king. The Google version is, takes a back seat or kind of goes to sleep. So I can unlaunch this toolbar here by the symbol on the corner, close out the toolbar, and that way then when I go back into my Google environment, read and write would work. Otherwise, if I have that Windows version open, the Google version will act like it doesn't work because it's put to sleep, if you will.
So they need to close the Windows version before they use the Google version.
Correct. Just tell them you can't have both open at the same time, and they'll understand. Yeah.
Okay. And then the other question was about with the student accounts. We have some students are able to use it no problem, and then some are able to have a problem every time they're logging in. And it's always the same problem, and it has to do with usernames and whether or not they're logged in. And my question is about accessibility, and with if they truly need to be logged in to the browser itself, and does it read from the upper right hand corner where your name is on the browser window? Does it get the rights by the domain?
Yes. So
Okay,
to use Read and Write for Google, you do need to be logged into the Google into Google Chrome and the browser. I can see here with my name.
Yeah.
If I were not logged in and I'm trying to click something to have Read and Write work, so for example, if I go to an internet page and I'm trying to launch my extension bar from the internet, it would prompt me to log in. So that might be what's going on with your students, is they're maybe shared login, or they're just not in the habit of logging in. But when I see my name here, I should be logged in sufficiently. Some districts are doing that process in various ways, so knowing exactly how you guys are doing it and whether there could be a tweak to that. Our support department is awesome. We have Read and Write, like all of Canada is using Read and Write. They found Read and Write, and practically the entire nation of Canada uses Read and Write. We have Read and Write in other parts of the world, but we have a team of 3 who support all of the US and all of Canada with tech support. They are amazing, but it also speaks to the user friendliness of our product. So if you ever have questions and you feel like they're kind of a tech support type issue, feel free to email them at support@texthelp.com. That opens the ticket. You'll get an automated email that you can tell did not come from a real person, but it basically is that ticket process. And then someone will reach out to you. So in the email, just give them as much detail as you can about your issue. Like, is it using the Windows version or the Google version or the iPad version? You know, what is it you're doing or having issue with? They will also support a non-customer. So I know if you aren't purchasing licenses, but you're trialing them with someone who isn't technically in that group, then they certainly would answer that question. Or anyone like a district who's not a customer of TextHelp, they would still help you. So, feel free to reach out to them. If you have any trouble connecting with them at all, let me know, and I'm happy to help make that happen. So I'm a resource for you as well as a person. And I know Linda spoke so kindly about my response time. I'm an educator, and I have taught. I've worked at the district level. I've worked at the Arkansas Department of Ed, and it is my mission to be responsive to you. I live in Texas. Texas is my home, my state. I want to know that you guys are supported, and I try my very best to make sure that's done in a timely manner.
Awesome. Well, those are my questions. I appreciate it.
Okay, Chris, and I will tell you that I've used TextHelp for quite some time, and until recently, I wasn't aware of the PDF being an additional add-on to Google.
Right.
So I was just making sure that your teachers had that big chunk.
Well, we've been pushing them this year because they were not aware, and we're trying to get them to utilize read-write as an alternative to in-person oral administration.
Yes.
Trying to ease up on the in-person, just because our state testing is going that way as well.
Well, and it also, I love that about y'all, because it gives the kids independence.
Yes.
And for me, this is, I will say about TextHelp all the time, yes, it does support kids for the test.
Right.
For me, this is a life skill. This isn't anybody's skill for our kids. So I thank you guys for being here and for sharing your stories. Let's go back to Arlington. What additional questions did y'all have? And if I can't answer, we will find somebody that can answer.
Linda, the specific question that I had was about a visually impaired student that uses a monocle during the STAR test. He prefers to use his personal iPhone to enlarge the text, and the teacher was asking if he's allowed to use his iPhone during the test, and we thought he could if he disabled the Wi-Fi function. Do you have any input on that?
So that will be a question that I will have to ask.
Do you want me to email you?
That would be awesome. And this is a student taking regular STAR, not STAR Alt.
Correct.
It's the student using the iPhone, and I know that's probably going to be a student by student case. So that one I'm not sure, but I definitely, we have really smart people here that I can ask. I'm sorry, I'm not as smart as some of the smarter people. What other question? And just open mic, Maureen, and we haven't gotten anything from you. So if you have questions, I would love for you to put them in chat or open your mic. But Chris, Arlington, or Fort Worth, what other questions do y'all have?
I do not have any more questions. I'm good.
Okay, Chris, do you have anybody using the Equatio or Fluency Tutor?
We use the Equatio here at the middle school. I'm a math and science special ed teacher, so we use that in the math department to be able to do handwriting off the smartboard, to be able to put into something that can use read and write.
Yay!
Yeah, so we're able to adapt a lot of stuff. And if we can't get Equatio to recognize it, then we use Microsoft OneNote as well. So we kind of tag team it, because sometimes my poor handwriting doesn't work with Equatio. But we haven't rolled it out to kids yet, but we're getting more comfortable as teachers with it. And the equation builder within Equatio is helping a lot with putting in fractions, decimals, things like that.
And does Equatio have a scientific calculator available in its application?
Let me check. I can look that up right now.
No, it does not, but I do want to point out to you there is one in Read and Write for Windows.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if I go back to 11.5 Read and Write, which is the older one, what we've done with the Windows version is we have a new platform that we are building out, the latest, so it's not really a new version, it's a totally rebuilt product, and it's missing speech input currently. So right now, for this point in time in year, we are encouraging districts to use the older version, 11.5, so that they do have that speech input feature. And if I come here to look for my button, here it is on the toolbar here. So I click, when I see a little arrow and I click on the drop down, I do see the difference standard or scientific, and it will speak the words as it reads them.
Perfect.
I learn something new every single time I hear Kay talk. And I'm so grateful for y'all. Chris, I sat in the Equatio webinar. It was a 1 hour, super duper, super fast, informational, national thing. I didn't understand any of the math.
Right.
But I could copy and paste all of the resources for y'all. So I'm going to actually just stop our recording.